Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Don't Praise the Machine, your survivor's guide to the cultural apocalypse. And today, we're exploring a unique, multifaceted, and deeply enduring figure on our cultural landscape. In the late 90s, Kid Rock exploded across the world as a rap rock superstar, owning the pop charts by blending a recognizable working-class American persona with a total devil-may-care attitude. But as we'll explore today, Bob, as he is affectionately known by his friends, including President Donald Trump, has become so much more than just a pop star. His allegiance to Trump and the MAGA movement means that these days he's regularly in the headlines more for his politics than his redneck kickin' rock and roll. And beyond politics, Kid Rock has spent more than 30 years permanently embedded in the tabloid ecosystem through chaotic celebrity relationships, drunken bar flights and arrests, public feuds, and a near supernatural ability to stay culturally relevant by offending everyone at least once. But I can't explore the chaotic, shape-shifting legacy of America's favorite country rap rocker alone. I'm gonna need a man whose wife is overheard every December saying, "I won't tell you again, you can't wear your Y2K era fur coat and fedora to my parents for Christmas." John, are you ready to throw up the devil horns, turn the sound system on the Cadillac to max, and scream Bawitdaba, da bang, diggy, 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 and prepare yourself for the ascendance of Kid Rock, the American badass?
Lovely. Yeah, I was getting nervous. You weren't gonna work in Bawitdaba. Come on.
You just kept writing and saying, can the intro just be, can you just go, here's the intro bar with
hello everyone,
da
welcome to the podcast. Yeah, fascinating.
What have you discovered about Kid when you did a little bit of research? Actually, we should also mention, John, this is a request, this episode. That listener knows who they are. One of our new listeners requested Kid Rock after we did a Pamela Anderson episode a couple of weeks ago, who, of course, has a connection to Kid Rock, as we will get to.
Yeah, it's a kind of it's the triumvirate of episodes that we're completing with this one, which is, I think, Pamela Anderson. We did one on the Juggalos and
Insane Clown Posse.
One on Kid Rock, and together you pretty much understand all there is to understand about American history and geopolitics through those three episodes.
That's true.
But you wrote to me during the week and said, stop slagging off Kid Rock because my research suggests that he's a kind of more nuanced and interesting figure rather than just a kind of ratty-faced redneck, which is interesting. And you kind of pitched me on the idea of doing a Kid Rock episode, which I think I had in the back of my mind because we had that request from the DPTM. But the more I learn about him, the more I am convinced that he is a kind of quite DPTM-y figure and quite an interesting, like somebody who I just kind of, I guess, was fully in the thrall of his PR machine and didn't really know that there was more to him than just a kind of white trash, sort of fur coat wearing weirdy. And I pretty much had just heard those two songs, Bawitdaba, that whatever that, I think it's actually called Bawitdaba, isn't it?
It is,
and the one where he's just doing a kind of revamp of Sweet Home Alabama, which is very on brand.
I didn't even know. You know what's really funny is I don't even think I knew that was him, but I know that song really well. I just kind of had it in my brain as, oh yeah, that's that Sweet Home Alabama song that is on. And for some reason, I always like the line, "We were smoking funny things." For some reason, that's just always in my mind. And then, I knew that one, but I think
funny things, cow dung.
We were smoking funny things. I'm the same as you. I knew Bawitdaba. I didn't really realize how enormous the album that is from was, and how much of a phenomenon it was, which we will get to in a moment as well, that album when it came out. And I just didn't know about his background, where he came from.
Yeah, and I think he's a kind of distinctly American figure, so it's kind of interesting to think of him as from the perspective of two Australians because, you know, we were kind of aware of him growing up, I guess. I mean, I knew
for sure,
who he
because
was.
of that album. Because of that album in 98.
but I don't think I really understood what his vibe was because I just didn't have enough kind of context at the time of like why this resonates with America in the way that it does and how he managed to kind of place himself as this strange bridge between nu metal and Lynyrd Skynyrd.
I mean, that's kind of one of the impressive things about him is this like mash of things that you'd think, oh, that's a bit naff. That's not gonna work or whatever.
Exactly. The Poochie of musicians. There's too much going on here.
He's got the sunglasses and the cap. He's a cool rap and skateboarding dog.
Exactly. I'm kind of a redneck, but I also surf and skateboard. Fascinating figure. So, and I mean, you don't have to dig too deep, into Wikipedia or whatever to kind of go, oh, actually, this surprises me. His upbringing, for one thing, which you might tell us a bit about, was not what I expected. He didn't grow up, paying for things with food stamps and living.
He did not.
Living in some backwater in West Virginia at all.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll give you a bit of background on him because this is really fascinating. So he's born Robert James Ritchie. So that's why people call him Bob. Watched a whole bunch of videos of him. And his band calls him Bob. Trump calls him Bob. So he's born in 1971 in a wealthy rural area just outside of Detroit, Michigan. And his dad was a car dealership owner, very successful car dealership owner, and owned several car dealerships.
Owned several, exactly. Yeah.
And so I think he grew up in a big house, this like estate with horses and orchards. And he'd work on the family property. But when he was a teenager, he became obsessed with hip hop. And, he'd grown up on this like wealthy estate and he's like, man, I've had enough of this. So he started I think he would travel from the family home to Detroit and like crash on people's couches or whatever and just throw himself into the Detroit hip hop scene. Okay. Which again is kind of interesting because he's obviously like a white dude in the mid 80s and he's going down there and he's learning breakdancing and he's like learning DJing, which again I didn't really associate Kid Rock with behind turntables.
He got really into breakdancing, didn't he? Which is like kind of not
breakdancer.
Yeah, which is not what you think of when you think of Kid Rock. Yeah.
And then he meets this. He has a meeting with this local rapper called D Nice, who's a member of Boogie Down Productions, the influential hip hop group led by KRS-One. Then he gets signed to Jive Records and releases his first album in 1990, which I listened to as well, which is called Grit Sandwiches for Breakfast. Yeah. And so this has nothing to do with country or rock music. This is kind of like Beastie Boys influence, sounding vulgar 1990 rap. Yeah. Funky beats, party rap. But it came out on a major label, but he struggled for years to break out he had like a local following and he was signed to Jive and he had a few albums in the early 90s, but apparently he just couldn't get radio airplay because the music was just mental. It was just like really vulgar and full of like sexy lyrics. And so he was kind of in limbo. And then he eventually got signed to Atlantic Records after leaving Jive. And then he releases in 1998 this album, Devil Without a Cause. And that's the one with Bawitdaba. Yeah. That just exploded and sold 14, I've seen another one said between 14 and 15 million units, which is huge.
His Bawitdaba breakthrough.
That was his Bawitdaba breakthrough, bang da bang diggy diggy. Yes, correct. That's what journalists said at the time. And so that just becomes huge.
This is a Bawitdabanger.
This album is an absolute Bawitdabanger. And this is, he'd been cultivating the kind of rap rock thing in the mid 90s with his band. and they're called the Twisted Brown Trucker Band.
Okay.
Often shortened to TBT. And yeah, so he has this now he has this kind of rednecky country rap rock persona, and it's that new metal era. But he must have been one of the people that was responsible for like ushering in that sound. Because I remember, Limp Bizkit and Korn and that kind of new metal-y thing comes, it's more like late 99, 2000. I remember that stuff blowing up 99 if I've got
maybe like a year or two earlier, but that's very early to be doing that sort of stuff. I didn't think of him as a kind of trailblazer, and I guess that's partly because I just didn't really understand where he sat in that. I don't know. Can you call new metal a tradition? But in that,
yeah, you can now. We're old enough.
That's what you can. But it amazes me that his first record was in 1990. That's ages ago. And where's some of them have passed away, but where's Vanilla Ice on the geopolitical stage now? He's almost irrelevant to the Iran war.
He is. That's right. He's got no say in what's happening in Gaza right now. Sucked in, Robert Van Winkle. What's funny is apparently
all the guys from Korn and Limp Bizkit. No one at the Pentagon is asking them to talk about what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, exactly. Linkin Park, nothing to say. No one's asking. Linkin Park.
Exactly. We've got a view on how to fix this. Shut up, no one cares. So he comes out with Bawitdaba, and at that point, I think it's kind of around the time of. One of the things I've watched, which I think you sent me, was a clip from Woodstock '99, and
so it's like a year later. So
he's in his kind of.
So the album's come out. It's huge. It's like peak. Everybody knows the song.
Yeah,
it's Woodstock 1999. It's absolute. Famously, that was absolutely chaotic. That music festival.
Yeah,
and you throw in the American Badass. That's a recipe for a pretty amazing set.
It's a pretty good. I watched that performance. I was like, maybe I'm a Kid Rock fan. Because it's quite energizing, and he's also such a. He's like the personification of Woodstock 99. He's new metal. He's kind of a mess. He's like a theme. He's kind of a weird mashup of different aesthetics. And he's also sort of got this. Even then, when he was pretty young still, not yet 30, he had this sort of slightly kind of wastoid, like washed up kind of look to. He looked kind of a bit like hard living, and I guess he was. But and he also looked sort of slightly otherworldly, like he wasn't. He was kind of a bit like sort of Snoop or someone. He's kind of lanky and got a weird face, and he's sort of got a couple of teeth missing. but he's also got this kind of charisma and energy.
Man, that Woodstock performance, I was totally won over. Like I kind of all the stuff that I knew about him with Trump and any
just melted away.
It just melted away in about 5 minutes when I put on that Woodstock 99 performance. Because like rappers these days, they don't have a band. They have like a DJ pretending to play the music. Sometimes they don't even have that. Like kids will pay like €100 to go and see their favorite SoundCloud rapper, and it's just the track being played, the backing track, and then the person just sort of sings over the top of it, and I'm just like, this is so lazy. And then seeing him at Woodstock 99, and he has this full band, and the band plays to sort of before he comes out, so they just get so they're just getting everybody excited, and his DJ, who I will also come to in a second, is hyping the crowd up and going like, "Are you ready? Are you ready for the American Bad? Like, just are you ready for Kid Rock?" And the crowd is just like the camera pans to the crowd, and it's just a sea of bodies, women with their shirt off, and then you also have to keep in mind that by mobile phones. By this stage, he'd been performing for like 15 years. So it's one of these things where it seems like kind of an overnight success,
right?
But then they go, "Are you ready for Kid Rock?" And it's like he's got 15 years of performance under his belt, and he strides out in that white fedora and white fur coat,
and this
in
kind
the fedora
of
and the white fur coat,
scurries up and takes his kit, and he just looks very. He looks very comfortable on stage, which is always impressive.
Pure swagger, man. And he goes, "My name." The first thing he says, he goes, "My name is Kid," and like fireworks and shit going. Dope.
I mean, if I wouldn't have. He wasn't on my radar in 1999, really. But man, if I'd been at that concert, I would have been like, I'm a Kid Rock stan now. I wouldn't have used that term in 1999. But it was very affecting. And okay, that's interesting. Because, I mean, as you say, he sort of seemed at the time like, where's this guy come from? He seemed almost like a sort of marketing, like a Pucci-esque marketing dream. And in a way, I guess he was plugging probably several kind of gaps in the reach of new metal and whatever, rap rock and whatever. He was adding something new, but it was kind of his own thing that he'd been doing for some time, rather than a record company coming to some random who could perform and saying, this is going to be your whole vibe. He'd sort of created that himself to a degree.
Like he's clearly very talented, like as a showman as well. And he can sing, and that's kind of the other thing that I didn't know. I kind of had, again, I don't know why, but in my brain I was just like, oh, he does that rap rock thing. And then I was going through his Spotify and listening to some of this song. I'm going, is this him singing? Like, what? Like, how is it that I'm always amazed when people start out as rappers, and then they go, oh, I'll try singing, and then I'm an amazing singer. I'm just like, what a you have to be pretty lucky to be able to do that.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I had the same thing. I had this kind of idea of him being more sort of shouty and rappy rather than having an actual, melodic voice. But when he does the Sweet Home Alabama, when he talks about smoking funny things, he does it in a dulcet way.
So that's 99, and then in the 2000s he starts becoming known for like celebrity weirdness. He marries Pamela Anderson in the early sort of mid 2000s, and then he's in the tabloids as well, because like they're sort of on again, off again, and then they get divorced, and then she's back with Tommy Lee, and then him and Tommy Lee, I think, run into each other at some event, and then they have like fisticuffs or something, I don't know. And which couldn't get more pop culture than that.
It's so of its time, isn't it? Tommy Lee and Kid Rock battling over Pamela Anderson.
Battling over Pamela Anderson.
But it also makes more sense when you understand a little bit about his background. To me, I was like, how did these two get together? Because particularly the Pamaisons that we've discussed, she kind of reveals herself as this, as a person who grew up on in sort of rural Canada on a farm. And now I think, well, yeah, they probably bonded about orchards and picking fruit and
which you would never know to look at him with his redneck rap rock persona, and her with a like Baywatch outfit on. You wouldn't think they'd be talking about apples.
A personification of synthetic marijuana, but no, they could have been bonding about how when certain kinds of fruit are ripe and how to build the perfect scarecrow or whatever.
The Pamaisons.
Yeah, it makes
guys,
sense.
if you want to, hey guys, if you want to check out a Pamela Anderson Pamaisons episode, it's just a few back where we talk about the reinvention of Pamela Anderson, one of our 90s crushes and beloved icons, Pamela Anderson. So then he's in the tabloids for that. But I mean, like we say, the reason that we know him now and that he's just in the cultural zeitgeist now is because of his politics, which is, again, like really fascinating. It makes him this quite unique figure
Yeah.
But yeah, so his early political identity, he was more libertarian than traditionally conservative. Supported abortion rights, supported same-sex marriage, anti-political, but has always had an anti-political correctness attitude. Praised Bill Clinton at Woodstock 99 and performed at Barack Obama's 2009 inauguration celebrations. Yeah. But he's
now he's Democrat poison. But funny to think of him. I don't think he'll be at Gavin Newsom's 2028 campaign party.
No, I don't think so. But, you know, he always like draped himself in American flags and that kind of stuff. And I guess, you know, the shifting sands of American politics meant that, you know, he was going to go one way or the other. And also he grew up in a Republican household in Michigan. His dad was like strongly pro-American manufacturing because of the cars. And then he became increasingly aligned with conservative politics during the 2000s. He was reportedly invited to events connected to George W. Bush's 2005 inauguration. I think Bush's daughters were fans and they wanted him to perform, but he didn't perform. But then he publicly endorsed Romney in 2012. Yeah. And before Trump was the nominee, in 2016, he backed Ben Carson.
Wow.
Remember Ben Carson?
Yeah, vaguely. I mean, he's a footnote of history, Ben Carson now. But yeah, there you go. I do remember him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think once Trump became the nominee, and once Trump, I think, I guess I don't know if he backed Trump once Trump entered as a Republican nominee, or maybe once he won the nomination. But by Trump being the nominee, he was all in on Trump, and he was one of the earliest supporters of Trump's 2016 campaign. Which I kind of respect people that were behind Trump in 2016 because it became much more socially acceptable to back Trump for that second term.
Yeah,
but man, if you were like, I'm backing Trump in 2016.
Yeah,
forget about getting
you nuts. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you know, people might
like
still
the
say
media
that. You're right.
Landscape
He's much more of a kind of, you know, I mean, all the people that were kind of lining up behind him in 2020, including people, not that many, but some people in music. But you'd be a real outlier to be doing that in 2016. But what?
Yeah, particularly in the arts, like the music industry, it's like 99.9% Democrat.
Yeah.
And I actually read an interview with him where I think he spoke to Fox News some years ago, and he said, I think he'd had these politics, more sort of Republican-leaning politics. He claims that he'd had them for years, or I think he said they were sort of simmering away, and then he said he waited until he was like completely loaded and uncancelable, and then he came out and said, okay, you know, I'm pretty into Donald Trump, because obviously it's potentially career suicide. Although I suppose he would have also had a sense that a lot of his base,
for sure,
his fans would also be that way leaning.
Yeah, and even if Trump hadn't won, they would have gone, well, you know, at least he wasn't backing Ralph Nader or something, you know, which would have been a bad career move for him. But what's interesting to me, like as you kind of talk through it, his image versus the reality of his early life, is initially I thought, you know, what is the link between Trump and Kid Rock? They are sort of such strange bedfellows, but actually they're not strange bedfellows at all, because they both have this kind of, you know, privileged upbringing paired with a kind of anti-elite persona that somehow they've managed.
That's true.
Somehow they've managed to purvey themselves as rednecks, even though they're not remotely really. Like they went to really good schools and they grew up in mansions, and, you know, but the people who come to Trump's rallies and the people who come to Kid Rock's concerts are very much like there's very much a kind of overlap in the Venn diagram there. They're kind of struggling working class people who they both seem to be able to communicate with despite not having had a whisper of that life themselves. So weird.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you'd say Kid Rock is slightly more like he's probably met people from that world if he was in Detroit in the 80s and whatever, but, you know, he himself wasn't like working at a factory in Detroit and struggling to make ends meet.
No, that's Eminem.
Yeah, exactly. That's Eminem. That's right.
Yeah.
With whom, as I understand it, he has a fractious relationship. Is that right? He doesn't really get along with Eminem.
I think I would try to look up if their paths had crossed personally in the Detroit rap scene of the 90s. He certainly did with the Insane Clown Posse.
Okay.
He has an ongoing feud with ICP. I think they've been on good terms and then bad terms and then good terms and bad. So it's kind of crazy too. I was thinking as well, like there's these four if you include the two members of ICP. These four white rappers from Detroit who are total cultural juggernauts. So Eminem, Insane Clown Posse, and Kid Rock are all hold this place in the collective.
It's true.
The collective mind of the world, and it's really quite interesting that they all came out of the 90s Detroit rap scene.
Yeah, that is amazing. But you can totally imagine. I mean, I wonder if Kid Rock ever went to a gathering of the Juggalos, because he would fit in pretty well.
I think by the time do you mean like to perform?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean,
he might.
But maybe they were on bad terms.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong about this, but I think maybe the gathering the Juggalos doesn't get artists that are probably charge as much as Kid Rock. Like, I could be wrong, but I feel like Kid Rock might be in a kind of echelon. I mean, I'm sure he could do it if he wanted to. Yeah. I don't know if he's performed at a. That's a good question. If he's performed at a, he should. That'd be great, and particularly if they're having a beef that I'm not aware. Bury the hatchet at a gathering of the Juggalos.
Exactly. Bob. I mean, if there's one thing that the gathering of Juggalos speaks to, it's a spirit of hatchet burying, I think. And they've had some high profile,
as symbolized by Hatchet Man, their logo.
That's true, it's about writes itself. They've had some high profile MCs. Didn't they have someone like I don't know? I want to say David Spade, but I don't think it was David Spade. So yeah, they could have Kid Rock do a reconciliation performance at the gathering of the Juggalos.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the Juggalos, I don't know if they'd be MAGA people, but I would say they'd be kind of people that MAGA.
They seem kind of apolitical.
They do,
I think that's kind of one of the nice things about I also feel that's what makes the gathering. I mean, look, I've never been to a gathering. I'm very keen to go. I would fucking love to go to a gathering of the Juggalos. Those people seem super friendly and cool, and it just looks like mayhem, and everybody just seems very welcoming. I've watched a lot of Gathering of the Juggalos videos on YouTube over the years.
They're very sweet.
But
they kind of,
you're right.
That's his vibe. You know, I remember watching those videos during the week of him, and he had a fan, I can't remember his name, Paul maybe, who has Down syndrome, who Kid Rock has befriended. Oh yeah. And
it's I have his name here, John. That is Dan McGurk.
Dan McGurk.
So yeah, maybe just tell people about what this video is that I sent you.
Yeah,
because I said to you, I won't hear another bad word about Bob. Right. I started calling him Bob once I started the research.
Exactly.
And then I sent you this video of, first of all, I sent you the Woodstock 99 video just to soften you up, and you were like, oh, this is pretty good. And then I said, look at this.
Yeah. And so this guy, Dan McGurk, is at a kind of what looks like a sort of diner restaurant.
Yeah.
I guess in Detroit, maybe. I think it was in Detroit, and his family is celebrating his 30th birthday, and he's a man with Down syndrome, and he's obviously a big Kid Rock fan, and he's kind of, you know, if anyone
he's got a Kid Rock t-shirt on.
Got a Kid Rock t-shirt on, he's kind of breaks out into Bawitdaba at one point. And then, you know, they sing him happy birthday, and it's great, and I think he's kind of, you know, he's just chit-chatting with the family. But it seems like he maybe has written to Kid Rock and told them, oh, it's my birthday, or somebody has. And then his family going, well, yeah, he's kind of saying, oh, do you reckon he'll come? And they're like, oh, I don't know, he's pretty busy, you know. And it's kind of seems like that's not going to happen. But then, of course, there's suddenly, is Kid Rock at the table hanging out with Dan, and apparently
and some of the band.
Yeah, some of the band
are there as well.
And there's
it's really cute. The band. Sorry to interrupt. The band just say, "Oh, we're like," they introduce themselves to Dan. They're like, we play with Bob in the band," and Kid Rock just like sits down with him and starts talking.
Apparently, he was there for a couple of hours, just chatting to him and hanging out, enjoying his birthday. Probably had some home fries, and then I don't know, and then he's kind of brought him into his network a bit. So he goes and he's stayed in touch with Dan. He visits the house of Dan's family. He's had Dan on stage at his concerts. I'm just saying, I don't know how many other people who performed at Barack Obama's inauguration.
Exactly.
Doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Beyonce performed at Kamala's thing. Do you think that Beyonce is turning up to a diner of a Down syndrome kid and sitting down with them for 3 hours and then like getting to know the family and being and then there was a Kid Rock posted a video. It looks like it's at that Dan's house for his 40th, and Kid Rock is like there.
That's right.
At the just hanging with the family, and I was just like, this Kid Rock guy seems like a pretty good guy. He seems like a pretty good guy. So then he has,
And then he's, it sounds like you're pivoting to this in due course, but then I see him, explaining the intricacies of Middle Eastern politics to people at the Pentagon. And I think, what can't this guy do?
He's not saying no to anything. He's not for a second going, that's probably a little bit above my pay grade.
Yeah, that's right. He's a bit he's got a bit of Snoop Dogg in him in that way that they'll just be like, Winter Olympics. Okay, great. Go and visit a fan. Yep. Be on a podcast. Yep. Do an ad for DoorDash. Sure. Whatever. I imagine Kid Rock's probably done some ads for, like he's a classic sort of, Miller Lite or someone. He'd be doing some beer ads, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Well, we can get to the beer thing in a second with Dylan. With Dylan Mulvaney. So he performed. He performed at he performs at like Republican and Trump events now. So he's like very deep in the MAGA world. He became associated with like MAGA era populism, anti-elite messaging, anti-woke anti-political correctness themes, the working class rebel image. And now he has a close personal friendship with Donald Trump. He was with Trump last year in the White House because he was one of these musicians who was saying that Ticketmaster, the kind of ticket, some would say, monopolist, were charging way too much for tickets, and people couldn't go to their concerts anymore. And he was doing his, working class hero thing, saying, "Hey, look, my fans like want to come to my shows, but Ticketmaster are like adding all these extra fees to my tickets, so they're way too expensive." And he was in the White House for like Trump signing, I think, an executive order, something to do with tickets last year. But then also he was on Instagram recently with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's right. Did you see that?
Yeah, and they were I saw them. They looked like they were in a sauna with their jeans on, or at least Robert Kennedy Jr. had his jeans on. In classic, just kind of slightly missing the mark and being in inadvertently weird RFK fashion. He had his very bronzed, for a man of his age, he's in good nick. But he had kept he's also a never nude apparently, so he kept his jeans on even in the sauna.
Okay.
And that's an
I've never heard that expression, never nude.
Yeah, that's an Arrested Development reference. David Cross's character is famously a never nude, so he wears these little jean shorts even when he's in the shower. And I got that vibe from watching RFK that they were like, it's a sauna. You can just get down to your budgie smugglers in Australian parlance. Your bathers. But he was like, no, keep my jeans on, thanks.
I saw him.
Kid Rock was there. They were doing workouts.
Yeah, I mean, Kid Rock's in great shape too. He's 54 now and is skinny, and he's a granddad. I think he has one kid, Kid Rock, and that child had a child. So he's a granddad. He's a granddad Rock. And by the way, I should just throw this in. The reason he's called Kid Rock, because you would think that he's called Kid Rock because, like, I always thought, it's because he does rap rock, and he'd always done rap rock. So that's why he must be called Kid Rock. But of course, the name Kid Rock predates his rock era by many years. And it's because in the Detroit rap scene, the people would say to him, that white kid can rock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because he was like doing breakdancing and turntabling and rapping, and they would say that white kid can rock. So that's where Kid Rock comes from. What a stroke of luck that then when he decided to start doing rock.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's
so
funny. I always just assumed it was because Kid Rap Rock is too much of a mouthful.
Little rap. It's because Little Rap Rock sounded a bit lame. Little Rap Rock. I saw him on Kid New. I saw Kid New Met. I saw him on a video with Pete Hegseth as well yesterday. He was announcing, I think he's just gone to a base or something, Kid Rock. He's so involved in that organization, in that administration. Like you look at his Twitter and his Instagram, and he's with RFK one day, he's with Hegseth at like a military base the next day. I'm is he in the cabinet?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's advising on military. He's probably in there interrogating Maduro.
Yeah, that'd be great. with doing the kind of Abu Ghraib style, playing like metal at them
exactly
sort of, to break them down.
Please,
he's just going to do
no
the
more
entire.
Alabama. Yeah, him and Hegseth were in this. I'm just reading joint helicopter ride. They did a kind of flyby. Fans of Top Gun will know what that is. 2 Army Apache helicopters were filmed hovering over Kid Rock's private Nashville residence. It seems like him and Hegseth subsequently went on a little joyride together in a helicopter, and people were saying this is an inappropriate use of military ordnance to put a nu metal musician in it. But I was thinking, man, imagine if you were kind of, on the ground in Tehran, and you were just kind of, you're having a quiet moment before you storm, because they rescued that guy, didn't they? So there have been some ground troops. But imagine thinking back, over your life, and one of the memories that you have is shaking Kid Rock's hand, maybe getting a stirring speech from Kid Rock at the troop base, and you'd think things have turned out pretty weirdly.
I couldn't stop laughing, thinking, imagine telling somebody in the year 2000 that President Donald Trump is best friends with Kid Rock, and Kid Rock signs executive orders next to it, wearing an American flag suit next to President Donald Trump. You would just go, that's not a future that I want to be a part of.
Yeah. If you said to someone in 2000, what's something that would make you feel like you were living in a simulation, and gave them that scenario, they'd say, well, yeah, I mean, if that happened, I would know that real life had ended and this was some kind of farce.
Yeah. And you would say, I can't imagine that a society would be functioning at that point.
Exactly.
Like, America must just be a kind of a post-apocalyptic smoldering wasteland if Kid Rock and President Donald Trump are in charge.
Yeah. This is what the Democrats need, though, if they're gonna get a successful 2-termer in next term. They need their version of Kid Rock. And I don't see, you mentioned Beyonce.
Who is it?
Don't see her doing it. I'm not sure who.
Well, it might be Bad Bunny, because another thing that we should mention is that Turning Point USA, in reaction to the NFL choosing Bad Bunny, a Puerto Rican artist, to perform at the very American Super Bowl, and a lot of people were upset because they're like, this guy doesn't even rap in English. Where we want some American home cooked, patriotic military. So they want Kid Rock, basically.
Yeah,
that's what they want. And so
they want someone who's a bit like their sort of uncle at the barbecue, and that's Kid Rock.
Yeah, yeah. They couldn't imagine Bad Bunny flipping them burgers at the barbecue. And so Turning Point USA, I think, streamed this alternative that you could watch at the exact same time as the Bad Bunny one. So you'd be watching the Super Bowl, and because you'd be loving the Super Bowl, because you'd be like, you have your American flags up, and you'd be like, this is pure Americana. And then halftime, and then you quickly switch it over to Turning Point USA, and then it's Kid Rock doing the alternative halftime show. So that's who the Democrats. Maybe the Democrats get Bad Bunny.
That's a tough one for me. I think I kind of.
Or do you think you're saying the Democrats need like a really Americana? Their best. I mean, he's a bit too old. I was going to say Bruce Springsteen used to represent a kind of working class Democrat.
That's
thing.
very true.
But he's too old now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is it, and it's funny because one of the things you mentioned to me was that he won an award from the NAACP in 2011, which shows that's a kind of interesting indication of how far he's shifted. And he had people on his 2010 releases, like he did a few things with Sheryl Crow and Bob Seger.
Yeah, that's
we've
right.
also mentioned on the show. One of my favorite.
And he grew up listening to Bob Seger, and he was a big Bob Seger fan.
Yeah, I wonder where. I mean, Bob
You're
Seger's
like you, just like you. Here's another reason.
People would say, who?
This is like
rally.
This is another reason for you to relate to Bob, is because you love Bob Seger.
I'm a bit worried by how likely it is that I'd enjoy Kid Rock's company if we met. I'm not sure I'd enjoy Bad Bunny's company.
Yeah, or Beyonce's, or no. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, honestly, would you rather have a drink with Kid Rock or anybody at the Met Gala?
It's true. Yeah. They can't even drink because they've got so much. They've got, it's Heidi Klum with some weird, silly costume on, and she has to have her drink through a straw.
So everybody's overdosed on GLP-1s, so they can't even consume food or drink at the Met Gala.
The mere thought of having a cocktail makes them dry rich. Bad Bunny was dressed by the way, in a classic. Didn't he have a 2026 Met Gala Bad Bunny? He dressed as it's like a farce. He dressed as an old man. Did you see that? As like a kind of 80-something old man with a cane.
Yeah. He's got somebody to do old person makeup on him. And it's just like, you are going to lose the next election, Democrats. You've got like Kid Rock is out here like going to birthday parties of kids with Down syndrome that love him, and like all these fancy Democrats at the Met Gala wearing their Down with Capitalism shirts while they're like
I think they need to
screaming at their assistants.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I think they need to get the Juggalos. I think they could be talking to maybe coming out of their apolitical wilderness to
ICP could be up there.
They need to get ICP at Gavin Newsom. I mean,
Gavin Newsom's
not a natural match, but I wouldn't have said that about Kid Rock and Trump, and that's worked out.
Magnets, how do they work? Just
exactly.
Gavin Newsom thing. So the other reason that he was suddenly all over the media again, Kid Rock, from a few years ago, was in 2023. Dylan Mulvaney, the trans woman, somebody at Bud Light in their marketing team. This was kind of at the height of like the LGBTQ thing being taking up a lot of space, and everybody was super. All the corporations were really pro LGBTQ. Right. The rainbow flag was everywhere, and somebody,
yeah,
exactly, and somebody at Bud Light was following Dylan Mulvaney on Instagram, and Dylan Mulvaney had done this like series of, 300 and I'm celebrating 365 days of being a woman, because I used to be a man, now I'm a woman. And somebody at Bud Light was like, I don't know why this didn't go through more checks, because they know their audience, you would think, but somebody in the marketing team, probably young progressive person, was just like, oh, this will be great viral marketing. I'll send Dylan Mulvaney a can of Bud Light with her face on it, and then we can see what happens.
Yeah.
And so, it'll be great marketing.
Right.
But of course, like a lot of Bud Light's fans are not into the progressive agenda. Right. And so Dylan Mulvaney posted it and was like, look, Bud Light saying thanks heaps for congratulations on 365 days of being a woman.
Yeah.
And then people saw that, and then it blew up on Twitter, and then Kid Rock posted a video on social media where he just lined up a bunch of Bud Light cans and then took a machine gun and fired it into them. and was just like, you Bud Light, where it was based, I don't know if he said we're boycotting you, I don't know if he said that directly, but that was kind of the message. And then it caused Bud Light sales to plunge roughly 20 to 30%.
Wow.
At points in 2023, and helped cost the brand its long-held position as America's leading beer. So it was a huge disaster for them.
Wow. Far out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a puzzling decision from them. Because, I don't think that many coastal elites, if I can adopt the terminology of their detractors, are drinking Bud Light. So they wouldn't have got much of a bump from it anyway.
No, it's weird.
It's just pissing people off.
It's a weird decision.
Yeah.
Maybe to finish out the episode, John, I thought there's two more points that I really wanted to hit that are not related to politics or culture or issues, that are just some really interesting things about the background of Kid Rock, aka Bob.
Yeah.
The first one is, we might have mentioned this on our auto-tune episode, but on that album of his that came out in the Devil Without a Cause album that came out in 1998, that has a track on it called God Only Knows.
Right.
And this is track number 11. I don't think it was a single, or maybe it was later, but I mean, it wasn't a single that came out before the album. The album comes out, track 11, God Only Knows.
Yeah.
This comes out in August 1998, and it's heavy use of autotune. Wow. So it's him singing, and it's really clearly heavy use of autotune. And August 98 is 2 months before Cher's Believe comes out in October of 1998. Yeah. So he was a rock pop star who and also his use of autotune on that, I think it's much more pronounced than the little smatterings of it that you get on Believe. But I always thought, Believe's the first huge pop song from an established artist or a big selling album. But God Only Knows, and it has like 90 million streams on. It's one of his top songs on Spotify.
There you go. Well, yeah, loyal listeners and viewers will know that you did a bit of a deep dive to find the origin of the use of autotune. And he would be cutting pretty close to
I think
one of the first major uses.
Yeah, absolutely one of the first major uses of it being of a huge artist. So yeah, absolute trailblazer is Kid Rock. And then this I loved as well, John. His DJ for many years in the Twisted Brown Trucker band was a man, now tell me if you know this name, his DJ was a man called Uncle Kracker.
Oh, no way. Wow.
Yeah. So Uncle Kracker left Kid Rock's band to become the pop star Uncle Kracker.
Wow.
And I think they're still friends, and I think they still occasionally perform together. I don't know if he's like performing with him now.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that Woodstock 99 video of the hype man hyping him up before he comes out. I'm pretty sure that's Uncle Kracker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at, just doing an image search of Uncle Kracker, bringing me a lot of joy to see the way that he marketed him. He kind of looks a bit like if Kevin James became a pop star, basically.
He's got that Paul Blart pop star look
got a Paul
to
Blart
him.
look to him. And it's also, of course, Uncle Kracker with a K, because for some reason in the 90s, misusing Ks became very, very trendy. People would say, instead of saying CK or C, I'll just use a K.
For our listeners who maybe don't know who Uncle Kracker is, who have forgotten, what do you know the song, John? Can you remember the hit?
Let me just have a look. The Uncle Kracker top song. Oh, yeah, of course. There's a thing you won't find nobody else like me. Yeah. Man,
I like this song. I liked that it was about him having an affair, and he didn't care at all that he was having, because he goes, there's a line in that Follow Me song where it goes, you're feeling guilty and I'm well aware, but you don't look ashamed, and baby, I'm not scared. That's like the line. Yeah.
What?
In the
You let
song.
yourself down there. Drift away.
So in the Kid Rockosphere, it's just got cultural tentacles going all over, going in every nook and cranny, and for the last 30 years.
Man, oh man, it's like Kid Rock Senior's car dealerships that were everywhere and selling like hotcakes, and it's just continued down the generations. Wow, what a fascinating journey.
What a fascinating journey. That was great. I really enjoyed researching.
Yeah, I bet. We'll find out what happens next. If this is it for, unless there's some kind of constitutional crisis, which there may be, this will be it for Trump in a couple of years. What happens to Kid Rock then? Does he become Vance's court jester? Or
that's very interesting. Or does he run?
Maybe, yeah. That's an interesting. That would be the true Paul Verhoeven future that we're all heading towards. President Kid Rock.
Just walking out to Bawitdaba every speech.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a great walkout song. It is a great walkout song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Look, I'd probably, if I was a diplomat, I'd probably rather have to deal with Kid Rock myself. Just have a beer and a chat, talk about the origins of nu metal, ask him for stories about Limp Bizkit and what was Woodstock 99 really like.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, John. It's been an absolute pleasure going and having a look at a very interesting cultural figure. Loved by many, hated by others. I think he exists in sort of interesting grey area for myself, because I probably came very much like the Insane Clown Posse episode. I probably unconsciously went into researching him with a little bit of a sneering kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh, this is a rap rock guy. I'm not really, I think it's just all going to be him drinking whiskey and punching people.
Bag. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
there is some of that, sure.
But there's a little bit of that.
It's a complicated story.
But I can't wait to see what his next moves are. We'll have to check back on him at some point. If you have enjoyed the podcast and you want to keep up with the DPTM universe, the best way to do it is John's weekly Don't Praise the Machine newsletter. John, can you tell people about that and how they can sign up?
Yeah, you can sign up by going to dptm.org, entering your email address, simple as that, and you'll be on the mailing list for the weekly newsletter. Most recently, I did a deep dive into the legal saga of Rebel Wilson, famous, another famous rebel, albeit a slightly different one from Kid Rock, but someone who has been on different sides of defamation disputes, has used public relations crisis firms to great effect, and is a bit of a shape-shifting figure. That's the kind of thing that I like to talk about. Sometimes it's that, sometimes it's deep dives into episodes, and I feel like communicating with our DPTMers through that. So yeah, jump on.
DPTM.org, sign up for the newsletter. I feel like that Rebel Wilson thing needs to be a full episode.
Yeah,
John,
I thought the same thing when I wrote it.
That's like the crossover with you being a barrister and pop culture and Australian stars having careers overseas. And it's such a wacky story, that Rebel Wilson.
Crazy. Setting up
story.
Setting up fake websites to slag people. I mean, it's just wonderful stuff. So yeah, maybe keep your eyes out, because we might do a full episode on the Rebster.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, and we can't wait to see you next week.
The podcast.